guys, it's Ashley and I'm here. I know, I can't believe I'm filming a video either. I forgot what this whole thing is, like how to do it. I had to go on a hunt all over my house to find the cord to charge my camera so that I could make this video. So it's been 6 months of 2017 and I've been in the probably largest reading slump of my entire life. I did hardly any reading the entire beginning of the year. I mean, there's lots of reasons. We're not gonna go into those. So I am here today to do a wrap up of January through June because the books that I read in the past 6 months can fit into one video that's not insanely long because slump. So I have a total of 15 books to share with you today. 15 books in 6 months is really low for me. Really, really low. The good news is we're getting back to reading. It's been great. I read more in June than I read in like the entire first 5 months of the year. So we're going good. It's getting back to normal and I am very, very happy. So without further ado, let's get to the books. So to start off the year, I read Cinder and Scarlet. I actually read Cinder the very first week of the year while I was in Disney for my birthday and it was wonderful. It was so magical reading this Cinderella retelling in Disney with Cinderella's castle right there. If you do not know about this series, I would be shocked because everybody knows about this series and I'm like the last person in the world to actually read them. However, let me fill you in. These are the first 2 books in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Myers and it is a fairy tale retelling series with cyborgs, basically. That's what it is. So the first book is a loose retelling of Cinderella. The second is Little Red Riding Hood. The third is Rapunzel. The fourth, I believe, is Snow White. And then there's some short stories and some backstories and prequels and all this kind of stuff. So far, all I've gotten to are these 2 books because then the slump hit massively. I'm still like halfway through Crest because I just haven't got there. But I really have been enjoying the series, which is why I'm not forcing myself to read it because, you know, when you're in the slump and you just like force yourself to read just because you should be reading, it's not a good situation. I don't want those feelings associated with this series because it's so good. So I am finally getting to it. I love it. 4 or 5 stars, I don't really remember. I do really enjoy Scarlet. I love the characters in this book and I love that it continues. I love that it's one long story but each book focuses on different people and it ties them together and it's so good. So good. If I'm gonna talk this much with every book, we're never gonna get through this. If you've been following along the past couple of months, you may know that I've started a book club online. It's the Aspiring Faith Book Club where we read a Christian book every month to just kind of grow in our faith. And so we kicked it off with The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson. This was fantastic. It's about prayer and it was so good. Every Christian should read this book. It was phenomenal. If you would like to see more of my thoughts on it, I'll leave a link to my live show discussion where I just rambled on about it and read some passages and talked all about it for a good 40 minutes. So if you're interested in this, learning more about prayer, definitely check this one out. Next up, one of the few books that I've actually like read in 1 or 2 sittings this year, Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven. Finally, I got this book back at BEA last year and just got to it in like, what was that, February, March? So good. This book follows Libby, who at one time was dubbed America's fattest teen. She has managed to lose weight and she is going to high school for the very first time, where she meets Jack, who has a condition that I cannot pronounce that essentially he cannot recognize human faces. He doesn't know if a person is his mom or his dad or a complete stranger. Every human face is brand new to him. They strike up this unusual friendship relationship thing and it's wonderful. I love Libby's character. She's so great and so authentically her. It's just wonderful. I just really enjoyed this story. I love Jennifer Niven's writings. I need to get my hand on the Velvet Jean series because now I'm out of Jennifer Niven stories and I don't know what to do with my life. Then I got around to The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Magnus Chase series. It is the first book in his Norse Gods series, which has been really cool because obviously most of his books are set in the Greek and Roman mythology, which has the overlap there, but this is a brand new, not new, but new to us mythology and brand new gods, new characters, new everything. And so it was really cool to see his writing style come through in those ways. I really liked that it's set primarily in Boston, being a Massachusetts girl. It was really nice to see like my home state represented. One other random thing that I also liked about this book is that he names the chapters, which I love. I mean, I can't dislike a Rick Riordan book. So we knew going into this that it was going to be like a 4-star book because all of his books are. This I read right at the height of my reading slump, so it took me forever to get through, but I still really enjoyed it and I'm excited to read the second book in the series because I think it's gonna pick up more because in this one we had to set up this whole world, this whole mythology that we don't know about. So I feel like the second book is gonna move a little quicker and have more action and more stuff going on. Next up we have How to Be a Spouse by Lily Singh. Lily, of course, is Superwoman here on YouTube, and this is her first book. Her book trailer was really awesome. I'll leave it linked down below because it was really good. It's nonfiction. It's like a self-help style book about how to conquer life. It reads super quickly because like every chapter has one of these giant pages, and every chapter also has a big picture of her. So the chapters are like 4 pages a piece, and it just goes really quick, and there's so much good stuff in here. Some of it, being 30 years old, was kind of like, yeah, no duh. A big portion of her target audience is like teenagers, but it's really good, solid advice. And there's something in here for everybody, I think. She covers things like relationships and business and just how to conduct yourself in the world and how to be a good person. So I highly recommend this. 4 stars. I underlined lots of stuff in here. Lots of stuff because it's just good. It's a great book. Go pick it up. Next up is another book that is fantastic for a reading slump. It is a graphic novel, and it is amazing, fantastic, incredible. The Stan Lee Story by Stan Lee. It's a comic style biography of Stan Lee in his own words, and I really enjoyed it. I really didn't know much about his life, and so reading this gave me a really good insight into how things came to happen for him. If you're a comic fan, if you like Stan Lee, if you like the Marvel movies, or you know, you just are a nerd and want to read about him, this is a great biography. It was simple, it was to the point, it wasn't too dense or too fluffy. I just really enjoyed it. I'm saying that about all these books, but I was in a slump, so if I didn't enjoy it, I didn't read it. Also, that's kind of how I live my life. This next book was another Aspiring Faith book club pick, and it is Present Over Perfect by Shauna Nyquist. This book is phenomenal, fantastic. You should read it. Basically, it's about Shauna trying to simplify her life and get back to just living in the moment and what God has taught her over the past year, 2 years, couple of years, whatever. And it's just so beautifully written and easy to read, but also packs a punch, especially if you're in a season where you're feeling overworked, run down, overextended, anything like that. The tagline is leaving behind frantic for a simpler, more soulful way of living. This was exactly what I needed at exactly the right moment. So highly recommended. I'll leave a link down below to the live show discussion where you can hear all of my thoughts on it because it's a great book. It's a great book. Look at all those stickies, huh? All of those stickies, and that's only some of the underlinings. Then came BookCon and Book Expo, and I started to finally get out of the slump. And so the book that I read while I was in New York was You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. I had seen online that this was coming out, and I was kind of excited because I had gotten her first book at BookCon a couple years back and enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite. It was like a 3-star read for me. I enjoyed it enough to want to get this book, and then my friend and I were at Target. They just so happened to have autographed copies, and they just so happened to only have 2, and the 2 of us wanted it and we bought them, and it was great. So this book is obviously nonfiction. It is about money and how to get it. It's not about how to spend your money. It's not about how to invest your money or anything like that. It's truly about making money and attracting money, which is kind of where she and I differ on the whole telling the universe what you want and letting it come to you. I guess in some ways we agree on the concept where she's talking about the universe, I talk about God, but overall there's a lot of things that I don't agree with in this book, and so it was kind of tough for me to get through, but I understood what she was saying about have the confidence to agree that you deserve wealth, and then have the confidence to go out and get it and do what it takes to reach your goals and that sort of thing. And fun fact, I finished this book and told God, okay, I'm ready for this wealth that you're gonna bring me, and the next day I got offered a promotion at work. So I'm not saying it was the book, but it was the next day. These next couple of books came from BookCon and BEA, so I don't know if they're out yet. This one says it's coming out in September. However, when I looked on Goodreads, there's like tons of copies that are already out, so I don't know if it's just like an updated version or what. But anyways, it's called Lighter Than My Shadow by Katie Green. It's a graphic novel. It's beautiful, all black and white. It's the true story of Katie's battles with mental health and eating disorders. It was really good. Joss Whedon blurbed it and said that it's universal yet specific, and those together make such strong medicine. Wow. Which is way better than anything I could say on that, because it really is, it's a very specific topic and a very specific story talking about eating disorders and sexual abuse and everything that comes out of those things, and that's not something I've experienced. However, there were themes in this book that I could very much relate to, and it kept me up reading. Next up, we have The Biggest Story by Kevin DeYoung, illustrated by Don Clark. This was a total cover pickup for me. I was walking by, this was the Crossway booth, and there was this big stack of these gorgeous covers. The illustrations are like just fantastically amazing. It is described as good for children or adults, and it basically tells the entire story of the Bible in a short 100 pages. I had mixed feelings about this book. It does tell the whole story, like a really quick snapshot picture, but there were times where it felt really juvenile, and then there were times where it felt really adult. It wasn't a good blend. It was just like all of a sudden it felt childish, and then all of a sudden it felt like no child would ever relate to this page. The artwork is stunning, and I love what it was attempting to do. I love that it has this bookmark, but as a whole, I think I ended up giving it 3 stars because it flip-flopped back and forth too much for me instead of being for all audiences. Then I have another children's book that I picked up at BookCon. Yay! It was one of those. This is A World of Possibilities by Frank J. Cilio, illustrated by Jennifer Zivoyne. Basically, it's about teaching kids the importance of being mindful and pausing and just kind of being in the moment. And it's a cute book. I think it's a little dry for kids, but it's got pretty pictures. It gives you the basic message, and so I think I gave it like 3 or 4 stars. It wasn't amazing, but it was still pretty good. And it's also got this really long page in the back for parents and caregivers to talk about mindfulness and how to encourage it in your children and that kind of thing. So overall, decent book, especially if it's something that your child struggles with or something you're trying to teach children. Might be a good place to start. This is the first and only Owl Crate book I have read to date this year. It is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and I freaking loved this book. I think I gave it 5 stars. If I didn't, I gave it like 4.5. It was just so good. It's about a girl named Eliza who writes this gorgeous webcomic series that's so popular. It's got like fan art and fan fiction and all this stuff, but nobody knows who she is. Who she is a teenage girl in high school who's doing all of this from the privacy and safety of her bedroom. She goes to school, and just so happens that the new guy at school is the most popular fan fiction writer for her series. They strike up this relationship, and there's all these themes and beautiful moments, and I loved this book so much. I love when we get fandom in books, which is why I love the next books I'm going to tell you too, and why I loved Rainbow Rowell's book. I love that, and I want more books like this. So if you know more like fandom type books, let me know down in the comments because I want more of it. I flew through this book. This was like the book that got me out of the slump. I read this in less than 12 hours and loved every second of it. And I have like all of these marked pages of like things that were just so beautifully said. I think that's why they call it a breakthrough. It cracks you open and lets light in. Like there's just so many beautiful moments, and there's this great story woven through this fun story, and there's comics actually in here drawn by the author. Another book she did called Made You Up. That sounds like a book that I'm gonna have to check out too. Yeah, this is just loved every second of this book. There is a really dark moment that comes in, and I kind of didn't expect it. It took a turn. So I would have liked a little more in that section. I felt like that part wrapped up kind of quick. It wasn't fully addressed, so I wish there was more to that part. I'm trying not to like ruin everything. If you've read the book, you know. So I wish that had been more developed. I wish there had been a little bit more to it. It was like, came out of nowhere. Now I'm gone again, and I wanted more. I think it was a great moment. I think it was a great thing to include. I needed it to go a little bit further, and it didn't. That's the only thing I can think of in this book that I did not like. It was so good, and you should totally read it. It's just, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. Finally, the last 2 books that I read are actually part of a bind up, and they were rereads for me. It is the first 2 books in the Lux series, Obsidian and Onyx. I loved them just as much this time as I did the first time around. I reread them because I decided to get back into this series. Like, I'm finally getting back to reading, and I wanted this series to be the first. Even though it's got such serious things happening in it, I feel like it's a lighthearted story and like a really good summer read. Even though there's like literally life and death situations and torture and all that, I don't know, it's got a really happy summery vibe to me. I don't know. I can't explain that. Maybe that says something twisted about me, but I had to jump back into it. I'm planning to finish up, what is it, Obsidian, Onyx? Can't remember them. They all start with O, and it's impossible to keep separate. So whatever the 3rd book in the series is, I'm planning to finish that tonight. Anyways, if you don't know this series, you need to read it. It's great. It's described by everybody, including myself, as Twilight, but with aliens. But it's better than that. Like, there's more depth to this story, and it's darker than Twilight gets at some points, and the relationships aren't as problematic. There's still some problems within the relationships because they're all dealing with their own stuff. I'm not gonna say that they're perfect. However, Damon's pretty hot. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I really like this series. So there you have it, my 15 books that I read in the first half of 2017. I'm really proud to be back into reading. I'm really proud to be back to making videos. I have missed you guys. I have like barely even watched videos because it's just been, I don't know, but I'm back. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Definitely let me know if there are more fandom related books out there because I love that factor. when it comes to books. It's just so great. The book that I actually wrote for NaNoWriMo a few years ago was like, that's all it was fandom. Except real life fandoms, and I just like threw references to everything in there. Anyways, that's a different story. Wow, I just started rambling so much. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you're having a great summer so far, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!